So here we are. I'm Barbara Tien with Projectkin, and joining me today in this very special Mother's Day live stream is none other than Jennifer Jones. Jennifer is joining me from Bendigo in Victoria State in Australia, where it is crack of dawn. That's you see the light hitting Jennifer there. It's now early autumn, and it is 4 a.m, right? So we are
Right.
delighted to have Jennifer, who in her commitment to family storytelling joins us ahead of a very special week where we'll be talking about Jennifer's Speakers Corner program. You have some fun stuff ahead of us. Jennifer, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. First, I just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And things are looking a bit different here today because, Speaker's Corner is not the most important event on the calendar today. Yeah, Mother's Day.
It's okay.
So, yes,
That's
I
what
guess,
recordings are for.
yeah, I guess who would usually be with us are spending time with their families today, and that's as it should be. Yeah. Yes, so coming up later this week, we have Cynthia Boatwright Rally and Helene McClanahan. Cynthia's from genealogy storytelling, and Helene is from Letters from My Belle. And our theme there is letters and old lace. So it's something to think about. So Cynthia, probably many of you will know Cynthia. Cynthia tells stories from her family history on her publication. And she has a special project where she's researching people that signed an autograph book that she bought in a flea market. And that book is 142 years old. And it's just been quite amazing reading those bios. They're wonderful. Yeah.
What
to
a
think
wonderful example of social
like that has lasted so long. Yeah.
Yeah, and what a remarkable social history story to be
Oh,
finding the
absolutely.
signatures, seeing what it is that brought these women together, finding the connections between them. Hello, Kyla.
Yes.
And then telling their stories from India, from
Yeah, and it
Illinois,
seems
right?
that these girls all went to the same school.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's not what Cynthia's coming to talk to us about. Cynthia's coming to talk to us about her great grandmother. And no one in the family knew much about her. And when Cynthia started to research, she found it quite difficult. But she did find that her story is completely different to what she had told, the snippets that she had told the family. So I think someone said in a note, and it might have been Paul Chiddicks, "Do our ancestors ever lie?" And I thought, yes, so we will have proof of that, I think, from Cynthia's talk on Friday. So that's a mystery there. And she found that when she spoke to when she met other family members, they knew less than she knew. So there absolutely is a mystery there. So Helene, the Letters from La Belle on Thursday or Friday, wherever you are in the world. In 2021, Helene received 9 shoeboxes full of letters from her, grandmother, I'm about to say, but I'm thinking it's her great-grandmother. When she added these to other letters that she found when her mother died, she had 885 letters. So she's coming along to tell us about, what some of her finds in these. Yeah. And how precious are letters? I mean, we all think letters are precious, don't we? We can get facts, can't we? And, the dates and the names and all that, but letters just give us the story,
Much in a letter. Yeah. There's so much.
Yeah.
I'm looking around for my little stash.
Absolutely. Actually, the other day I came across, doing some tidying up, a box shoe boxes full of letters from my daughter. And, she wrote them when she was 15. She was an exchange student in Japan for a year, and that was a big thing, sending her away for a year at that age.
Uh-huh.
And when she wrote them, I knew they were a treasure, of course, but put them I had them in an envelope like that.
Go on.
Yep. I put them away in a box, and I haven't looked at them since that year, since we received them. And I opened them, and, of course, she's in her 40s now. And to read these letters written by a 15-year-old girl, about her, her love for her parents and her family, and just stuff like that wears off a bit, that you don't talk about so much as you get older. It was just, was incredible to sit down with that box for a while and just, have a read. So I've got to do a deep dive into them now. But yes. So what have you got there, Barbara? You've got letters.
Well, just as
What are
you
you trying
said
to
that.
hide under?
Well, my husband and I got together in correspondence. We'd known each other in
Oh,
college. Did I not tell you this story?
really?
Yeah. We'd known each other in college. And for a complicated set of reasons, I'd left school for a while. And so he started writing to me. And one thing led to another.
And they're the letters you have in the envelope there.
That is actually not that's another collection of letters, because, of
All
course, I
right. Yep.
kept those letters, but this is
Yep.
another collection of letters. And I was just glancing at some humorous thing about Santa Claus or some such thing, and I was like, "But
All
it's
right.
not signed. I don't know who it is because I don't recognize the signature, the handwriting anymore." You used to remember
Yes.
the
Yes. Yeah.
handwriting.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
as I listening to people like, um, both Cynthia and Helene talk about the process with letters, I mean, there's just some block and tackle to
Yeah.
how you handle that kind of thing. Do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
take time to put each one into sheets, and then put them all in order first, and then
Yeah.
put little notes on who they are, and then, because there's timelines and there's people, and then
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
timelines of
Yeah.
what else was happening at the time.
Yeah.
Just the block and tackle is
Oh, especially
death-defying.
so many 885 letters. I mean, that's a lot of information there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
To
my
sort
husband
of.
and I were corresponding daily for 10 months or something, but, that's not 885, you know?
No, that's right. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the other thing is that when you have these letters, you only have half the story, usually.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
get the other
Yeah.
half.
You only seeing
Um,
one side. Yeah.
Although I found in my mom's collection, I found my letters home.
Oh, right.
I started looking at those, I'm like, "I can't do this." I don't think I threw them away, but yeah, it was a little
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Actually, now that you mention it, a few Projectkin is getting old. A couple of years ago, I had my friend Catherine Graven, who has written a book called Memoirs of a Mask Maker. I had her on to talk about a new book that she was working on at the time. I did it as a project recipe for Projectkin, talking about the letters that in 1923, her grandmother had gone on a Lutheran teaching expedition,
Oh,
missionary
right.
expedition to
Yeah.
India.
Yeah.
And she corresponded with her her future husband from India every day during this journey. So my friend is working on a book about that. So,
Oh,
having spent my career with engineers, I said, "So it's like a transcription of the letter?" She's like, "No, Barb, come on, man. Come on, man. You tell the story. You're not reading the letters." Like, "Oh, okay." That's what
yeah.
I mean by real writers.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
Kathy
They
Stone
have
has
that
chimed
challenge.
Yeah, Kathy Stone chimes in here with, "Yeah, one of my clients' collection."
Ah,
And, the kind of work that she has done as a photo organizer, going through the papers is a
yeah,
lot of those kinds of things of people writing to each other. And so, like
yeah.
I said, it's let's not be literal here. I also, Linda Tether, who's often joining us. I see you, Linda.
Yes.
Thinking of you. Um, has a remarkable collection of her mother's diary, or maybe it was her grandmother's diary. Or I think it's her mother's diary and her children's grandmother. And the diary really is, the weather was cloudy and I went to the
Mm,
store.
yeah.
But what's interesting, and she pulled this out for her own project, was what did grandma say on each of the days when her children were born? And that's
Oh, mm,
right.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like I said, my life with engineers, you transcribe it.
Well, I have to
I'm
say I tend to
reforming.
be
I'm
literal too.
reforming.
I'm not a storyteller, I'm literal, so I would transcribe it too, so feel
Hey,
bad about
that's
that.
that's why we hang with these talented people. Speaking of
Exactly.
talented people, welcome, Jim. It's lovely to
Jim,
see
hello,
you
Jim.
joining. You had me
Yeah.
riveted this morning. I haven't even had a chance to post about your story. And honestly, all of you fabulous writers out there,
Oh,
you drop these amazing posts and you don't see a response. Hours go by and you're thinking, what the heck? I know
yeah,
that was a good one, and nobody says
yeah.
anything. You're like, "What? Break my heart." Truth is, we're reading them, we're digesting them,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and we try to do our best to respond and give it respect.
Well, and we want
But
to read every story, don't we? I mean, I just want to read every single one,
I know.
it's
In fact, who was I talking to about that this morning? The other day, I was talking to somebody about that overwhelm. Oh, there's
yeah.
so many. It's like a fire hose. There's just so much good stuff coming at me. Remember the early days of the internet?
Mm,
The fire hose? It does feel
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
At least I think that with a lot of our family history stuff, it's not like the news. It's not like you had to
Yes.
have this episode in order to understand that episode.
Yeah,
And when you
yeah,
do have a series, I see you, Lori. When you do have a series and you need to understand where each one fits into context,
yeah,
you know, taking them, then turning around and focusing on one and going into it.
yeah.
Digest is a great word. So,
Digest. I
oh,
think it's
digest.
digest. I think.
I don't know. Could be
Yes.
digital. Okay. Go on, Kyla.
Hi, Carla.
Hey, she's a librarian. She's like a
She
better word person.
she's a
Oh, yep.
wordsmith. Yep.
Okay. Digest. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Digesting, but also for some of these, there is such beauty in the prose
Yeah.
and taking the time. I also, as like you, I try to go to the gym regularly, and I find that between gardening and the gym, my ears are very good at listening while I'm doing something else. I think,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I must have really annoyed somebody when I was a little kid and wanted to go to bed. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, enough of that. Let's go back to letters.
Yes. Um, so I've got a few letters.
Ah,
Only 8, not 885. I have 8 letters that are so, so, so precious to me.
uh-huh,
Um, a wonderful researcher who's, in our I didn't know, he was researching, like, my 2 times great-grandfather's sister, so that's where he hooks into the family, but he lives in England, and I'd never heard of him. He came out to Australia to do some on a research trip, and he went into the Victorian Historical Society and just dropped in a bunch of letters. Um, yeah, so one night, late at night, as you do, I was just mindlessly, just looking at this website and that website and doing the type of research that you don't record and it's probably not, intentional at all. And I came across his name in their archive and that they had these letters. And these were letters that he wrote from Australia in the 1850s home to his family. And, just for everyday things like, how much things were costing and how they were struggling to get clothes and they couldn't go to church because they didn't have good clothes they could wear to church and, all that type of thing. But then there was between the lines what you were reading about how homesick he was.
Mhm.
And he just wanted to hear from his family. And I don't know why, but they weren't writing to him, or not as often as he would have liked either. So they only 8 letters, but they were just absolutely a great find, And that's how I got to know him, through those letters, because he was an agricultural farmer. He wasn't doing things to get himself in the news or,
Yeah.
um, and actually a labourer, a farm labourer, so he didn't have his own farm in the early days. And I would never have known anything about him but for those letters, about his story.
Their letters just, they get to a person that you can say things in letters that you might
Yeah,
never have
yeah,
said,
yeah,
directly to a person, but also, they will give a color to the ordinary pedestrian life
yeah,
that you would
absolutely.
never get reported
No,
into historical
yeah,
notions, which is why, 10 years after the letters, you look at the letters and say, "Oh, how embarrassing." This is garbage. This is irrelevant to anybody. It doesn't document any historical moments. Who cares? Throw them away. But,
our
reading
descendants
those.
aren't going to say that, are they?
Yeah. And bear with me, but I would argue that look at our email.
Yeah,
Look at our email. Our
yeah,
email is, or the chat threads,
yeah,
right? The chat threads and the email
yeah, yeah,
are modern versions of that in ways that
uh,
feel so, boring. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
but AI can read that really well,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
for better or worse. But, from a historical perspective,
Mm,
being able to go in and query, it seems really creepy to do this today for a living person, for, your own stuff, or,
yeah,
someone you know and love, but
yeah,
being able to look at your own, or a body of correspondence,
yeah,
query it and come back with answers instantly.
yeah, amazing.
He, not to bring politics into this, but here in the US, we have a current trove of documents, let's put it that way,
Yeah,
a trove of documents that are relevant to historical purposes. And each time a new trove is released, all the journalists are going crazy after it.
yes,
But we have new tools to
yeah,
do that in
yeah,
ways that
yeah,
were never conceivable in the
never
past.
before. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
boy,
Yeah,
the recent post that I did a lot of, I did a lot of work with Notebook LM to take all of my research as I was going through it. I have all these duplicate names that were making me crazy, and I just dumped it all into Notebook LM so I could just keep asking, "Well, wait a minute,
mm,
so and so is whose child?"
yeah,
Or, whatever else.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great assistant that way, isn't it? You know, could you
I'm
imagine
thinking about Yeah, I'm thinking
the
about the
amount?
question I asked. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
just thinking that let the point I asked earlier. So I'm sorry to bring tech into this, but if you have 800 letters that are
yeah,
all handwritten with
yeah,
somebody, you know, tired in script and
yes,
referencing my brother and my mother-in-law, and you're like, wait a minute,
yeah,
who's your mother-in-law again?
yeah,
To dump them all into
yeah.
and let tech read, scan, and answer questions for you. I'm
And
not
so
saying they do
talented.
it for you because they don't know the
Yeah,
story,
no,
but
that's true. Yeah,
answering questions when you're on the edge of, "Wait a minute, what?"
yeah, exactly, exactly. Kind of
Kyla,
just dropped a coin. Yeah.
do you wanna read this?
I'm unclear on what the oil industry might be, but it seems to be active in keeping me busy and the family fed. From Utah to New Mexico in 1937. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm unclear on what the oil industry might be. Yeah. Yeah.
What
So
is
it's
this
all
oil
new and
industry you speak of? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
In
yeah,
1937. That's in the middle
yeah,
of the Depression, right?
yeah.
Um,
And a comment that my two times great grandfather wrote in his letter was he was potato farming and it was winter. And it wasn't too far from where we live, so I know it was a cold place. But he said, there are days here that are colder than any days I've ever had in England.
yeah.
Because over there they dress for it. Here we don't, and it just comes. Um, but I just thought, yeah, that's something you wouldn't think.
I'm sorry. Back that up a bit. You're saying that in Australia, where, 30 Fahrenheit, if you'll bear with me, 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit is still cold. The human body
Mm.
doesn't change. And are you saying that, generally speaking, in Australia, you don't dress for the cold?
Well, no, you do. We do.
Okay.
Like we rug
That's
up. We definitely rug up. But he might,
whoa,
in
rug
a,
up. I love that. You rug up.
oh, don't you rug up? Yes, we rug up.
Come for the topic, stay for the language. Go on.
Oh, isn't it strange the things you say without thinking? Uh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
but
You said, yes, we rug up, but.
yeah, but for example, the change of seasons, he might have gone to work one day and it happens here. And it might have been,
Ah,
a very hot day. So then off he went the next day, expecting another hot day because he's come over from England. He doesn't know what the weather's like. And may have snowed almost where he was staying, where he was working. So, it's very up and down in certain
sudden
places.
changes. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
predictable.
yeah,
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 I can imagine that. It's a funny thing about San Francisco Bay Area where I live, is has a beloved comment from our writer Mark Twain, who said the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco,
yeah.
because
Don't they
famously,
say 5 seasons in one day? Do they
yeah.
say that over there? Yeah,
Not quite. We get a 50-degree temperature difference,
yeah,
because, it'll be in San Francisco, the issue is the afternoon fog that hits in
yeah,
the summertime, or
yeah,
the morning fog that doesn't burn out until late in the afternoon.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
the fog literally is coming down from the Arctic,
yeah, yeah,
along the coast, and it will just whoosh in. If it gets a chance,
yeah,
it'll just whoosh in the bay, and poof, it's suddenly very, very cold, as opposed to along the coast where it's always cold.
yeah.
I am directly across from the Golden Gate, so it is almost always a little bit chilly as it's coming in
Yeah.
here. Welcome, Lisa, joining
Oh,
from
hello,
London, as
Lisa.
I recall. Welcome,
Yes.
welcome. We were just talking about the experience for Englishmen in Australia, having been accustomed to English weather, and rugging up, my new phrase, with warm woolens, which you grow for heaven's sake with all the sheep.
Yeah, that's right.
You have the woolens to prepare for all of that. There
Yeah.
we are. So getting back to letters again. So we
Yes.
have a very special program coming up this week with two writers you have solicited to join you in a theme. Do you want to talk a little bit? I moan about the English weather to my Aussie friends all the time, fellow expats. um, do you want to talk a little bit both about this specific theme and then more generally about what you do in combining these themes together and finding themes
Yeah.
for the Speaker's Corner?
Yeah. Now, the themes were your idea. Also, I'll say that first because I would never have thought it. No, no, no. You have to take credit for that. They were. I would never have thought of that, but it's just brilliant. It just brings just a little something extra to,
I
just
think there's something
any two
magical
guests.
about a pair. I
Yeah.
guess I discovered that it's really lonely doing one of these live streams all by yourself. or being on the spot to give a talk where
Yeah,
you become the expert to talk about poorhouses or something.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lecture,
yeah.
but having two people tell their stories.
Oh, I know, and, you know, so we'll choose a theme, and usually we choose how we do it for anyone who's actually interested, we might say, so I'm working on next year now, so 2027.
Which you are.
So, yep, um, it's not full, but it's well into the year. So just say I've got someone for January, which I have, um, and I'll have a bit of an idea because it's too early for them to decide yet what to talk about, really. But I'll just have a bit of an idea from reading their Substacks, what they write about. So then I'll try and choose someone, not who writes about the same thing. I'll think of usually run it by you, and we'll think of a bit of a theme, and it's usually fairly vague at that stage. The theme might be place or, letters or just something a little bit vague. And then it's amazing. Someone else will come along and, request to come on Speaker's Corner, or I'll invite on Speaker's Corner, and then I'll discover they've got a story that fits that theme. But it's nothing, the bit that amazes me, the two stories are usually nothing alike at all, you know. If I had two people coming along to talk about letters, that'd be one thing, but they'd be totally different anyway. So yes, you can have a theme with two speakers, but two entirely different stories. So I have found that very interesting how that's happened. And it's happened just so many times, you know.
Yeah, so you have, I was just double checking the post that we already wrote about this. We talk about who the speakers are and their publications. That's over at projectkin.org/, go to monthly or
Yeah,
events, where you can find the registration, a page about the event, which also tells you when in your local time zone it is, and then the registration link for Zoom. Um, but it doesn't include the specific post that each of them is talking about. Is there a specific post?
for this week.
Yeah.
Um, no, well, yes, because Helene's publication is all about those letters. So,
Right. Right.
um,
That's one of her two
and
publications, which is why. Yeah.
yes, yes, It Takes a Pair is her other one, and that's about her mother.
Right.
I think that one's about her mother.
And
Um,
a twin. Yeah.
yeah, and it may have been her mother's letters. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yes. So all of Helene's posts are about those letters, but I found the very first one. If we were to include one, I would include the very first one that explains how she came across the letters and
Yeah.
a bit about her great
I'll include
grandmother.
that
And
in the notes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is there a post I
And
should include for Cynthia?
Uh, no, because Cynthia hasn't written about this story yet. So it's completely new, and we're getting the, hot off the press before it's on the press. So yes. So Cynthia was going to come along and talk to us about about the autograph book that we spoke
Mhm.
about. And then she's got this great story,
Okay.
so yeah, she's
All
decided to
right.
bring that one in, which is
All
great.
right.
Yeah.
Again, I love the idea of thinking about the theme of what it is. I mean, here with Project Kin, we're pretty transparent. The whole idea here is to inspire people to go get their stories told in any
Yeah,
form it takes.
exactly. Yeah,
And sometimes it's lectures about a topic, the poorhouse, and sometimes it's how the journey of how I got to what I discovered,
yeah,
like my recent post. And sometimes it is the story. It takes you
yeah,
all the way through the story.
yeah,
And sometimes we then reflect back on what that was and what we learn about it, what we see and discover from each of those steps. And as a matter of fact, in a conversation that you and I had, I'm pleased to say I've got a new speaker coming up in, what did I say, June 3rd? I've asked Paul Chiddix, whom is a special voice around here with his weekly posts that come out on Mondays, providing very thoughtful kinds of, it's a roundup, but it's a very thoughtful roundup about
Oh,
things
it
and
is.
how he's been
Yeah,
thinking about it. And he's a great voice in the thinking about the writing of. So in
yeah.
this case, he'll be talking a little bit about his story about Adelaide, which is a remarkable story,
Oh,
but it's the story about the story.
that's the story.
The
Yeah,
story about the context for it.
yeah,
Poverty in Victorian England is something that also fits into a lot of what we talk about in terms of our own history, especially all
yeah,
of us. I see you all out there, all of
yeah,
us who have lived in countries that were colonized by England,
yeah, yeah,
and lived that experience as with ancestry, but
yeah,
in an entirely outside sort of way.
yeah. Yeah, Paul's story is amazing.
We got weaves, we've got intertwines.
Oh, look, I have to say, I remember when, because some of our storytellers come along and tell a story that's been published, and some, like Cynthia's going to, tell a completely fresh story. But it's always different to hear it orally, always.
Yeah.
But I do remember when Paul's story of Adelaide dropped, and it was a busy Saturday morning, and I was racing around, and I was in the car, and I just had a quick look, as you do. And I'll often think I'll save that for later, but I couldn't save that for later. I just had to sit there, and it was a long story, and I sat there for just so long and read it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing Paul come along and tell that story in his words.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause they're different. They're definitely different.
They're
I think
definitely different.
everyone's
And
story.
even something that is written, read for you by an automated voice
Yes.
is
Yeah.
different in that
Yes.
experience. I mean, we were
Yeah.
talking about that at the beginning here,
Yeah.
in the experience of going through all of this. Welcome, Mama Carol. I see you.
Oh, hello, Carol.
Each of these experiences, like doing live sessions. Honestly,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have found live sessions like this with all of you chatting on the side is a different experience of an interaction, which changes and brings something different out of the conversation. As a little
It
sidebar,
is.
since
It's different because, I mean, we love Zoom, don't we? We all love Zoom, and we have the chat on the side, but, um, it there's just something different about these lives with the interaction, and it feels like we're having a conversation
Mhm,
with you out there,
mhm.
yeah, through your comments.
I have talked about this before, and it was like 2 years ago that I wrote a post about setting up a private podcast with my cousins, which I did do like 2 years ago. But we are finally executing with regularity now on doing a live stream. Substack Live didn't even exist then, but doing a live
Yeah,
stream that's entirely private. And it makes a difference to be able to have the actual, it's like personal letters. And in this case, I just have cousins reflecting back on experiences and comparing notes of siblings who were like, a decade apart of what their
yeah,
lives were
yeah,
like. And as a sidebar, you record it all. You're capturing it all in a not invasive way.
yeah.
And I think that's absolutely huge. And
No,
yeah,
absolutely, yes.
letters are what are letters anyway, but capturing a conversation in a non-invasive way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they are, yeah, and, I'm, in awe of families that keep their letters as coming from my mum throws things like that out, letters and photos and, it doesn't matter what you say to her that, "No, it's all rubbish." So any letters in our family wouldn't have existed, which is why the 8 letters I have are so precious, and my daughter's letters, of course. But yeah, yeah, yeah. And,
yeah,
it's
and
wonderful because when she went over there, we sent her over there with a video camera. Remember in the old days, the video camera? You
oh
know,
yeah,
they were
big deal.
huge.
Yeah.
And she would send back a video film every week,
Uh-huh.
so and they were, when your daughter's away like that and she's only 15 and you're missing her, you sit down and you watch it and
Yeah.
you cry and
And she's in as foreign a place as Japan. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, but to read about it
And the
in the
whole video is
letters,
bowing.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
um, to read about it in the letters was, oh, because it's so long since I've read them, it's, well, 30 years since she was there now. Um, yeah, and just to read about her experiences in the letters was amazing. Yeah.
I can see a project combining the letters and the video.
Oh,
Where's
I
the
know.
video?
Yeah,
Where's the video?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's her project to do.
Because when it's happening in the moment,
Yeah.
it's, you know, oh, here's a letter from Lisa and it's great. And you read the letter and you put it away. It's fantastic. But when you look at it 40 years later and she's away, you don't see her all that often.
Yeah.
And the letters are all about, how much, what great parents you and dad are. And, I've got great brothers and this and that. And because she's homesick,
Yeah.
it's just a different experience
Well,
reading them.
also, what I love about the idea of combining video with the letters
Yeah.
is that so often you have the joy of, the handwriting and all of that, but maybe you have this. I'm just looking at these letters where I don't recognize the handwriting
Yeah.
'cause I don't see it every day anymore.
Yeah.
But you look at that and you don't necessarily piece together the context. Well, it was so good last week. We had such a
Yeah.
good time. What is she
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
But if you can combine that with the video, you feel
Yes.
the whole, as they say in Japan, the kimochi, that
Yeah.
that little
Yeah.
joy in the heart,
Joy. Yeah. Yeah.
and see where that is. Welcome, Dr. Mary. It's great to see
Hello.
you. Not at all. Happy Mother's Day. In fact, a lot of what we're talking about here comes back to, especially with grown family, right? They're reaching
Yes.
out,
Yeah.
and today it's in texts and whatever to express that joy and missing you and so on and so forth. And you get these little letters and whatnot, but really seeing them in a larger context, in a historical context, that can better convey all of those feelings. It's quite
Yeah.
kimochi ga ii. There's certain
And
words Japanese does really well.
there was so much about that year that I had forgotten about, because it was just a big year having her away. So there was just so much about that I'd forgotten about, like our thoughts and worries and, wonderings. And yeah,
15.
yeah. And
Yeah.
to go back and revisit that in like a 15-page letter because they
Oh,
were she's a writer and her letters were very long. But you got all the little detail, so
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I do look forward to, and she hasn't looked at them either. I mean, she mailed them off to us
Right.
and she hasn't seen them since then either. So yes.
Mm. Put them all in their little safety
Yeah,
containers. Thank you very much,
yeah,
Kathy. We see you right there. We know you're there.
yeah.
9-page letter.
Oh,
Yes,
Mary.
Dr.
Yeah.
Mary. Mary has this remarkable, remarkable collection, not only
Oh,
of her own correspondence and her own
yeah.
family having lived apart that way, but also a collection of her ancestors'
Mm,
letters and correspondence. We've talked about postcards.
yeah,
Postcards are this peculiar little variation that brings together a selected image
yeah, yeah.
plus the story to it. In doing my research for my recent post about Switzerland, I bought off eBay a little,
Oh,
this was
yep.
a probably 1930s, I think. Oh, wait a second, there's a date. 1928 um, postcard with, that can't be right. Anyway, somebody basically saying, wish you were here. Not
Yeah,
terribly meaningful.
yeah,
But, this kind of thing is just a selection, and it's such a different kind of, it's like a haiku versus prose.
Yeah. Yeah.
the different steps of what it
Oh,
takes.
I'm loving postcards now. I'm having a bit of a love affair with postcards at the moment.
Right?
I think since Kathy, remember when Kathy did her postcard session?
I know.
When I used to love postcards, but I don't know what happened there and just never thought about them for a while. And then after Kathy's session, oh, everywhere I go now, I'm seeing postcards and I love getting them and I love sending them now. They're just, yes, they're just a little snippet of a moment, you know?
You've given me an excuse to, like, put my little pitch in. Hello, everybody out
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Remember that if you send me a postcard here at Project, oh, no, you don't have to send me a postcard at Projectkin. Go to projectkin.org/ members. I'll put the note in here. I have members form, maybe something like that. I have members map. That's it. If you go to
Yeah.
projectkin.org/members map, I will be my pleasure, my honor to send you a postcard and add you to the map. And if you just want the postcard but not the map, et cetera, I'm open to anything. Most of all, I love sending you postcards, and I'm a collector of new stamps. So I get
Yeah.
new US stamps to put on things because I believe in supporting my local post office
Yeah.
with real supporting real
Yeah.
letters.
But
Well,
isn't
gosh,
it great getting a postcard?
it
You know,
is. It
you have a
is.
picture of the place and the work and the stamps. Yeah, I'm like you. I love looking at the stamps, you know, so yeah.
And the writing is always this little general thing that's designed so that anybody could read it.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, gosh, I want to thank you again, and I'm so looking forward to Thursday's program. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. It's been so great to see all of you, and wishing you all a very very happy Mother's Day for all who celebrate, for all who are specifically celebrating. Everybody's got a mother.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a mother to remember, and it's a special day, and a special day to celebrate families and think about all of that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
It's always a complicated day, put it that way, as we
yeah,
think
it can
back.
be a complicated day. All those wonderful hearts for our mums. Um,
Yes,
can I just say,
please.
hope to see you all at Speaker's Corner. Uh, and, you know, I think we all know that it's free, a free event. Anyone watching the recording who hasn't been before, it is a free event, but you do need to register to get the Zoom link. So don't forget to register. You need that link. Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. And if you
Yep.
can't remember if you haven't already registered or not, register anyway, because I'll tell you a little
Yep.
secret. On Zoom, it doesn't care. You're not making a problem for me. Zoom doesn't even tell me if you registered 6 times. It just takes the last one.
Yep. We do that
That's true
quite
for
often.
everybody, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
And this one, I know many of my programs let you register ahead, and then you get there and you can't find the link. Just register. It's all good. It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will come after you if you don't come on. Though, just kidding.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. Thank you all. We'll talk soon.
Thank you
Bye-bye
so
now.
much,
Enjoy
everyone.
your Sunday. Enjoy your Monday. Bye-bye now.